me know. Again, Doug Nesbitt, Director of Affordable Finance and Fair Lending for CMG, and welcome again to the HomeFundIt show for Friday. A little bit about CMG for those of you who might not be familiar with the company. We have a lot of real estate agents on the call, so I usually go through this real quick. Company is now 30 years old this summer, founded by Chris George with 6 employees in his garage in Pleasanton. He's our president and CEO, recently the chairman of the Mortgage Bankers Association. So we're a large privately held mortgage bank. I think we are the largest privately held one. Top 15 lender. We've got loan officers across the country, branches across the country, all the products that you might expect from a top lender, plus 2 proprietary programs that you can't get anywhere else. One is the all-in-one loan. It's the loan I have on my house. I call it the most powerful loan on the planet. If you're not familiar with that program, be sure to get familiar with it because it'll change the way you think about mortgages and your money forever. Second, HomeFundIt, which is what we are here to talk about today. 2 things you got to remember with HomeFundIt. One of them is for you, one of them is for your buyer. First one, for your buyer. It's going to solve that number 1 problem that they have, and that is the down payment. Yeah, mortgage rates are high, but they go up, they go down, but what never goes away, seemingly, is the challenge of coming up with enough money to buy a house, and that's the down payment. And specifically what we're talking about is down payment gifting with HomeFundIt, which we'll be talking about all morning this morning. And then second is for you. It helps you hold on to prospective buyers who are not ready. And there's lots more of those in the marketplace, obviously, than there are people who are actively shopping for a home, current buyers. And how do you hold on to those prospective buyers and not lose them to competitors? Well, that's what HomeFundIt really does. So let's talk about home buyers, specifically first-time home buyers. You know, they're dealing with issues that we all know pretty well, front page issues, high home prices, rising rents, and student debt. You know, we haven't seen that in past real estate cycles, but in this real estate cycle, we certainly are seeing an issue with student debt. And that's why when you talk to renters, 70% of them will tell you that the down payment is the number 1 problem that they're trying to solve. And let's take a look in depth at prospective buyers versus current buyers. And it's really important to kind of really see the difference between these 2 types of buyers. When you look at who's buying homes these days, millennials. 82% of millennials want to buy a home. It's a priority for them. And when you look at prospective buyers today, people who say home buying's on my list, I'm planning on buying a home at some point in the future, I want to be a home buyer, 60% of those folks are first-time buyers, right? So a lot of first-time buyers making up the pool of prospective business that you're going to be able to do in the future. But when you take a look at who's actually in the market today, shopping for a home, buying a home, that number drops down pretty dramatically to about 26%. That means that a lot of folks are taking a long time to come up with enough money for a down payment, and that's what slows people up from becoming a current buyer. And it's really important to see the difference between a prospective buyer and a current buyer. You know, the last couple of years in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry have been pretty good for a lot of people. And business has kind of rained into your hands when you hold out your hands. In comes the business. It's tougher to get these days. And so we have to retrain ourselves to not just work with the people who are actively buying a home, but people who are dreaming about buying a home, who are getting ready, who are starting that first job, who are finishing college, who are getting their credit fixed. All of those folks are future business for you. And if you can train yourself to go out and find those people, and you have a tool like HomeFundIt that can help you hold on to those folks, you're going to do more business in the future. And specifically, you're not going to lose those folks to competitors when they become current buyers, because they will become your customers sooner. You'll end up doing more business. So let's talk about down payments and down payment gifting in particular. You know, down payment gifting is a process where people get a little bit of help with that down payment. Generally, that help is coming in about 25% of cases coming in from parents. Even though under other, you know, all guidelines, FHA, USDA, VA, other guidelines allow for down payment gifting, Fannie, Freddie, but other relatives don't get asked, right? Because it's just the job pretty much of the parents when you think about it. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. Paper checks, gift letters, the rules about who can give, who can't give, just the inconvenience factor of chasing all those things down makes it so that most buyers don't go out and ask all those other people who could legally give to the down payment. And when you think about it, the conversation about down payment gifting happens very, very late. by the time someone learns about how to do down payment gifting, they're probably sitting across the table from a loan officer who asks them the obvious question, so how are you getting the down payment together? And they say, well, we've been saving 3 to 4 years on average, according to the National Association of Realtors. And we're going to get a little bit of help from our mom and dad are going to help with the down payment a little bit. Great. Do you know how to do that? No, I have no idea how to do that. Well, you got to get a gift letter, and here's what they look like. So they go out and they get a gift letter, and they get a check from mom and dad, and that's how that works. They don't go out and talk to other people because it's so late in the process that bringing in all those other people, chasing down all those other people, getting gift letters, getting paper checks from those people, it just is not practical. So most people just rely on parents for that down payment gift. Totally underperforms what down payment could potentially do. And it all boils down to the friction involved in down payment gifting. And we said, hey, let's fix that. Let's at least take the friction out of down payment gifting. Let's make it so that people can give online with a debit card or credit card, no offline paperwork. And that makes it much easier for all those other folks to be able to help. All they have to do is be asked, and they can do all the rest of it online without any of that friction process. Anyone can give with the HomeFundIt campaign. So that means that non-relatives can give. So beyond just relatives, we're the only platform that allows non-relatives to be able to give to a down payment. That means friends, teammates, co-workers, wedding guests, that's a huge one. Anybody can give up to $5,000 per donor, no maximum on how much you can raise, just $5,000 per donor. There's no commissions or hidden costs. If you tried to do this on a traditional gifting platform like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, you'd have huge commissions, hidden costs, and it's not designed for a mortgage. So you'd have a lot of complexity in getting those funds into the transaction. There's no time limits on a HomeFundIt campaign. You can start as early as you want. We have a lot of very young folks with campaigns and running them for a very long time. The average duration on a campaign from when we started, it was around 30 days to today, it's somewhere around 4, 5, 6 months on most campaigns. It doesn't mean you can't do a fast campaign, but there's a lot of folks on average who are doing very long campaigns now. And that's because they're planning ahead. These are prospective buyers, not current buyers. And that means that loan officers and real estate agents are now using HomeFundIt to get out there in front of more people who are further away from buying a home, making them their customer in that moment. And it works with any loan program except for HFA bond program, HFA and bond programs, DPA programs, things like that. It's got to be regular loan programs. So that means all conventional, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Home Possible, Home Ready, the 3% down payment programs, FHA, VA, USDA, Jumbo. We do it with all-in-one occasionally. Just no HFA bond and DPA type programs. And when you boil this all down, it's really online down payment gifting from anyone. There's two big words here that are very important. Online, you've moved the process online. That takes the friction out of the process. And anyone can give. So if you're looking for an elevator pitch to give to your client, hey, we have this thing called HomeFundIt. What is it? It's online down payment gifting from anyone. Let me explain to you how that works, right? We've moved the process online, and you don't have to worry about who can give anymore. Anybody can give. That opens up a lot of possibilities for buyers. And that's why that elevator pitch is really important. Sets up very, very easily. They just go through a few simple setup screens, and presto, they've got a page on the web where people can donate to their down payment. These pages look like everything. Graduations, friends, weddings, you name it. The campaign page breaks down like this. You have a main picture that you can customize, a title that you can customize on the campaign. There's a nice little default story that you can customize that as well. We start you off with a good one just because it makes it easy, but you can customize it, and most people kind of gradually do. Loan officer and real estate agent are both featured on the campaign page. There's a place on the upper right where people donate. There's a second way to add funds on a campaign. It's called Up It. I'll talk about that in a second. And in the bottom right, you can see where all the gifts are coming in. We match those gifts 2 to 1. That means up to 2 to 1 for every dollar you bring in down payment gifts, you get $2, up to the lesser of $2,000 or 1% of purchase price. And we apply that as a lender credit automatically at closing. And there's only 2 requirements to get that $2,000 or 1% of purchase price. You have to be a first-time buyer. We use the Fannie Mae 3-year rule, and only one person has to be a first-time buyer. The second one is you have to do home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract. And the big words prior to are really important. That is a no exceptions rule. You have to do home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract. we have a free 1-hour phone-based Monday through Friday Eastern time system through GreenPath. It's either same day or next day. Oftentimes it's next day. They schedule it. But it's free and it doesn't take very long. It's built right into the program. You can start right from your HomeFundIt dashboard. Or if you want to do an online course, any HUD approved online course will work, but it has to be HUD approved. We have a full list of those if you need it. But again, most important thing, it has to happen before signing a purchase contract. So don't be in a contract and then decide you want to do HomeFundIt because there's no 2000. And we have to have sad conversations about that every now and then. So please don't get into that bucket. Get it done early, start the campaign early, etc. So that's the gifting bonus. And again, that's a lender credit applied automatically at closing on the CD. Now we do a lot of these with Freddie Mac's Borrow Smart. And if you got a buyer who makes less than 100% of the area median income, you absolutely should be considering Borrow Smart. It's free money, anywhere between $500 and $1,500 towards either down payment or closing costs. It does require its own home buyer ed from Home Preservation Foundation. It's $99. If you do that, it'll count for the HomeFundIt one because that's HUD approved. So you don't have to do 2 home buyer eds. We have the exclusive ability to stack these 2 programs. So if you have a buyer who makes less than 100% of the area median income, you should absolutely think about Borrow Smart. Together, these programs up to $3,500. And there is a huge overlap between these programs because a lot of first-time buyers make less money. So that's why we have the ability to stack these 2 programs together and deliver to Freddie Mac. UpIt, second way to add funds on a campaign, and you do that simply by shopping. It's built right into every campaign. If you click in here on the UpIt feature, you can open up a world of online retailers. Each one of them rebates a certain amount of what you spent back to the down payment as a pledge at closing. Retention feature, because you gotta close to get those funds. It averages 7.6%, ranges from 1 to 50%. Anybody can shop using UpIt. The campaigner, their family, their friends, the loan officer, the real estate agent. It all works through a nonprofit called the Home Dream Foundation, and those funds are automatically applied at closing. All the stores you know and love are in here. All the travel guys are in here. Those are usually bigger expenditures, so they're really helping someone when you do that. And again, when you're doing that shopping, you're getting $2 for every $1 in rebate pledges towards that $2,000 lender credit. So that's the second way to get to the $2,000 is by doing shopping. You get a 2-to-1 match on those pledges. And if you have a whole bunch of family and friends helping you, you can get the Chrome extension and have them all install a Chrome extension on their browser. And that means that anytime you go to any store, like Home Depot here, it pops up automatically. You don't even have to go through the campaign page. You can go directly to homedepot.com, and if you got the Chrome extension installed, it pops up like this, and it automatically links that shopping trip to the campaign of choice. So you never miss an opportunity to help somebody with their down payment. And a third way to get to the lender credit of $2,000 is you share the campaign on social. A lot of folks like to put it out there on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Well, you get $10 every time you share your campaign on social. You have to share the campaign page itself. And that's per person, per platform, per day towards that $2,000 lender credit. So if you shared on all 3 platforms today, you'd get $30. If your friend came over to your campaign page, like right here, and clicked on the Facebook link, they'd get you another 10, Twitter another 10, LinkedIn another 10. So you got to share the campaign page. You can't share a post of a post of a post. You got to come over to the campaign page and share it out on your social. So a third way to get to that $2,000 lender credit. Now, when your buyer sets up a campaign, they have a nice little campaign dashboard that has a to-do list that explains everything they need to do. One of my favorite things is, if you don't like to share on social, like a lot of people don't like to, you can email your family and friends. Right here in the middle of the to-do list, there's a sample set of emails. You just click the go button and you've got 3 starter emails that you can use to let your family and friends know about your campaign, invite them to come by. You can start the pre-qual from right here. You can share your campaign from here. You can send updates, customize your campaign, everything you need to do. Loan officer and real estate agent are both featured here on the campaign page, and you can see how you're doing. So it's a great way to control your campaign. Now, 2 things very important about these HomeFundIt deals. There are 2 tracks. One of them is the Freddie Mac track, and the other is the non-Freddie Mac track. I'm going to do the non-Freddie Mac track first. with all deals that don't involve Freddie Mac, seasoning on those gift funds is required. So you set up your campaign page, you can run it as long as you want. You can shop with it initially if you want to, and then transition into regular fundraising when you're ready to start talking with family and friends about bringing in some dollars. Typically that process runs 4 to 12 weeks for most campaigns, when from the time they start talking about it with their family and friends to the time the funds are all in. Doesn't take very long. Make sure you get pre-qualified before you start house hunting, and make sure you get your home buyer ed done before you get yourself into contract. Now, because seasoning is required on the gift funds that come in on all these non-Freddie Mac campaigns, you want to make sure that those funds are seasoned in the buyer's bank account, for at least 2 bank statements, 2 clean bank statements. That's the typical seasoning period for funds coming in. Make sure you're getting those in there ahead of time. So start early, right? That means it's going to be at least 60 days. You want to get into contract at the end of that time period, submit your loan application with those 2 clean bank statements. You're going to close, get your $2,000 lender credit, up at funds if you've been doing any shopping. So that's how that works with a non-Freddie Mac deal. Now, you're probably sitting here thinking, uh-oh, what if I don't have time to season those funds? What do I do? Well, unseasoned funds cannot be used in the transaction. So you can leave them in your campaign, and this is what a lot of people do, and then they just ACH the funds to themselves instead after they close on the home, and they can use those gift funds for carpet paint, upgrades, et cetera, right? You still get your $2,000 lender credit at closing because you did everything you're going to do. You just can't use the gift funds in the transaction. So you use them after the transaction, and it works just as well. I'd say it's probably 50-50. I got about 50% of the people seasoning, 50% of the people don't have time, and they just pull the funds afterwards. So that's the way we do it on a non-Freddie Mac deal. But again, unseasoned funds cannot be used in the transaction. They have to be just saved for later. Freddie Mac, no seasoning is required. So if you could do Freddie Mac conventional, Home Possible, or Choice Renovation, you can set up your campaign, run it as long as you want. You can gift fundraise as long as you want. Make sure you get your home buyer ed done before you get into contract. And then you're going to submit your loan application, close, fund, get your $2,000 lender credit applied automatically at closing. The gift funds are wired at closing. There is no ACH loop on the Freddie Mac deals. The ACH button goes away, and the funds are automatically wired at closing. Make sure you refer to the HomeFundIt training manual for full details on both of these tracks because they are very important. Program stats to date. We've done tons of these, all different types of loans, big, small, every flavor of loan you could imagine. HomeFundIt does not have an income requirement. The program that you're choosing has the income requirements on those. So basically the only 2 requirements for HomeFundIt and the 2000 is first-time buyer, home buyer ed prior to signing a purchase contract. Now, anyone can use HomeFundIt. Even a move-up buyer can use HomeFundIt. You just don't get the $2,000 because you have to be a first-time buyer to do that. But we do occasionally see move-up buyers using it. I call it the divorce and disaster scenarios. So usually it's where somebody needs some help from family and friends on a move-up buy. And it's like a fire or a divorce or a health issue or something like that. And we do see occasionally a move-up buyer using HomeFundIt. They just don't get the $2,000 lender credit. Top 10 campaigns, remember there's no upper limit on these campaigns, so we see some very, very large ones. But what I would say a sweet spot campaign for HomeFundIt, we see these every day, is 5 to 15,000, 5 to 15 donors. This is for a good-looking, well-shared campaign. Here's a good example of one. This is a couple in South Carolina. They had gotten married recently and went back to the same group of people who came to their wedding earlier, said, hey, you know, we've been talking about buying a home. You guys know this. And we just discovered this thing called HomeFundIt. We would love it if you'd join us on our journey. They didn't expect anyone to help. They only expected their parents to jump in traditionally. Instead, they were surprised. 13 people gave almost $11,000 towards their purchase, just a couple weekends. Very fast campaign. And they were in their house sooner and stronger. And really what's important is not so much the dollar amount that these campaigns raise, but it's the 13 people who gave to this campaign. Why is that? Well, that's a thing called the network effect for HomeFundIt. And we see this every day with campaigns where multiple donors exist. You know, with a regular home purchase, there's 4 main players on stage: loan officer, realtor, buyer, and seller. And you're hoping you're going to get some referrals out of that. group of people, right? That buyer basically. With HomeFundIt, you can probably see where I'm going here. There's all these donors. There's 13 donors who are connected to that last campaign that we were just looking at. All 13 of those donors know about the loan officer, the realtor, the buyer, this cool thing they're using called HomeFundIt to help their friend buy a house. And they all go out and talk about HomeFundIt to all their networks because their groups of friends are, some of them are buying homes. You should go talk to this loan officer. You should go talk to this realtor because they've got this thing called HomeFundIt that we use with my friend so-and-so to, you know, and they got a bigger down payment that way. And the word gets out. And what we see is downstream business coming in off these campaigns with multiple donors. So your goal, selfishly, should be to get a campaign that has a lot of donors, right? Because you're going to get a lot of downstream referral business from that campaign. How do you do that? Time. Time is your friend on a HomeFundIt campaign for all kinds of reasons. The earlier you set these up, the more time it gives your buyer to be able to comfortably work HomeFundIt into their conversations with family and friends, when grandma comes to visit, when they go out with their drinking buddies. All the things that people do in life are opportunities for them to bring up this cool thing on their cell phone called HomeFundIt, right? Come, check this out. We're doing this thing called HomeFundIt. Stop in at our page, maybe help us with some shopping, maybe make a gift to help us with our down payment. We'll help you back someday, that kind of a thing. Those conversations can happen with time. Trust me, your buyer wants to buy a house pretty bad. If you give them enough time, they'll figure out a way to work HomeFundIt into their conversation with family, friends, loved ones, relatives, etc. And the more people that you line up for these donor slots, right, is the more downstream business that you can have. And we're actually just now launching a campaign, a nurture campaign that goes for a full year, representing the loan officer and the real estate agent to all of those donors. So they're going to get a one-year series of email nurtures featuring the loan officer and real estate agent. So your goal should be more time, more donors. And this is probably the most important slide I can show you today. So, second thing here with HomeFundIt, weddings, big opportunities. It is a slam dunk opportunity. It's a very, you know, these days, people have all the stuff they need when they're getting married. Nobody wants china and crystal and things like that anymore. You go to the thrift stores today, they're packed with that stuff, right? Everybody has the stuff they need. What they need is a down payment. So the easiest pitch in the world is, well, let's let your wedding guests help you with your down payment, right? It's a natural gifting opportunity. And it kind of is the anti-wedding registry. Do this instead of a traditional registry. So what people are doing is they're putting a QR code leading to their campaign page in their save the date announcement, in their wedding announcement, and saying, hey, you know, instead of giving us stuff, what we'd really like is some help with our down payment. And by the way, every dollar is worth $3 because we get a 2-to-1 match on that. Wedding guests are much happier helping you with your down payment than buying you an air fryer, right? Imagine the conversation downstream. How's that air fryer? No, how's the house we helped you buy? That's what the conversation sounds like with HomeFundIt. So it's a slam dunk opportunity. Wedding registries, wedding expos are huge. We see a lot of folks go out and get tables at wedding expo. The tables are generally mobbed because the pitch is well understood by the people at the wedding expo, the attendees. They stop in. They're not there to do a house purchase or a mortgage, but they certainly see that box as one that they want to check down the road, and they see their wedding guests as an opportunity to help them check that box. So they stop in, they find out about HomeFundIt, and most of these folks are coming away with dozens of leads for people who are future home buyers that are very interested in starting a HomeFundIt campaign. And if you catch them early enough, they're going to do it instead of a traditional registry. So huge opportunity here. We've got tons of marketing materials in this space. We've got follow-up nurture emails that can help you stay in touch with people who came to the wedding expos, things like that. Big opportunity for HomeFundIt. Another big opportunity, the next gen buyer. You know, today, the big problem we have in the real estate industry is that nobody's selling a house. Everybody's sitting tight on 3% fixed rate loans. Older people are aging in place like they've never done before. And it's hard to find sellers, which makes the market slow, right? So your next course of action is to find the next set of buyers, that next generation of buyers. The traditional ask in this business is, call me when your kids are ready to buy a house. Don't forget about me, right? Well, with HomeFundIt, you can start those relationships today. You can call your older clients, your past clients who are aging in place, et cetera, who have kids who are coming up through college, starting that first job. And you can say to them, hey, we've got this brand new tool that can help your kids get into a home sooner and make it easier for your whole family and all the relatives and friends to be able to help with that down payment and get your kids over that #1 hurdle that they're having, right? what a great conversation to have with an older client. What client wouldn't welcome that call that could help their kids get into a home faster? And what you're looking at here is exactly that. There's a real estate agent out in the Nashville area, the guy in the purple shirt here in this campaign. He's a real estate agent for one of our top loan officers, had heard about HomeFundIt, went home, talked to his daughter, pictured at the top here. She was a junior at Clemson at the time. And she said, yeah, that sounds great. Let's just get that set up. Not a lot happened on her campaign initially, but when she graduated, she put a QR code leading to her campaign page here in her graduation announcement. And similar to the wedding pitch, she said, hey, if you're thinking about giving me anything for graduation, what I really am hoping to do is buy a house as soon as I can. I'd love some help with the down payment. And by the way, every dollar is worth $3. So she had 20 people give to her campaign, and she was in a house by November, right? So that's the example of that next gen buyer saying, this is cool. I could talk to people about helping with my down payment. And they do. So great conversation to have with your older clients who have dependents. And if you're a loan officer, we've got a Domo report for that. If you go in your Domo reports area, there is a report called Next Gen Target, dependents age 18 to 26. This is all your past loans that have dependents, and they're highlighted in green. So just go down this list, call these folks, introduce them to HomeFundIt and say, hey, I understand you got dependents, kids and coming up through college, how are they doing, et cetera, et cetera. Have that conversation and let them know about HomeFundIt. Many of those folks are going to say, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk to our kids about doing that. So great report to kind of get you going in terms of finding out which people you know that have dependents. They're in the loan files. Okay, real estate agent portal. How do you get this out to your customers? Well, the very best place, if you're a real estate agent or if you're a loan officer who works with real estate agents, which you all do, is through our portal. Agents can set these up, and it's a starting place for a HomeFundIt campaign that's linked to both the realtor and the loan officer. As you can see here, both are featured on the page. It's got some great marketing tools, and it's got some automated nurture marketing built right into the portal. And I'll go through it in detail here. It's got the real estate agent's branding on it. It's got their picture and contact info. It's got a big green button where the customer starts the HomeFundIt that's linked to both. There's a place that they can ask questions. This goes back to the real estate agent. There's a place for loan questions at the bottom. There is video that explains how the program works. There's an active and successful campaigns tab that features all the campaigns that are linked to you. These are live. You can link right into those campaigns right from this featured area. If you're in one of the 40 states that allow it, you can do a match on the pledges that or on the dollars that are coming in. That match is a dollar for dollar pledge up to any amount that you want at closing. You apply it just like you would normally help with closing costs today, except for it's public. You're basically saying, hey, someone gives you money, I will match it towards your closing costs. Some very good reasons to do this. Number one is it helps you encourage them to go out and talk to more people about donations. More donors equals more referrals. That's another great reason to do a match. Plus, you're getting free publicity here. Every time somebody donates, there's your picture right there on the campaign page. So I highly encourage matches if you're in one of the states that allow for realtor fee negotiations or discounts at closing. There's a marketing center inside your realtor portal. It's got social graphics and other things that you can download and share. But the very best thing is these testimonial videos. There are testimonial videos about HomeFundIt, easily shareable right from your realtor portal. And the cool thing about these testimonial videos is that they've got your branding built right onto them. Super easy to share these. You just click the button right underneath. And there's a contact form. So wherever they go, you're going with them and people can get right back in touch with you. There are 7 of these in your portal. I recommend people share them every single weekend. Pick a different one, share it. And that gives you a 7-week rotation of marketing that you can get out there. All different types of topics. You can see my branding on this sample one right here. I'm clicking the share link underneath. If I'm logged into Facebook, it's going to pop open a share panel. All I got to do is put some call to action copy at the top. Guess what? We've pre-written that for you. I'll show you how to get that in a second. You're going to hit the post button at the bottom and it goes right into your social media timeline. That's your marketing for the weekend. Super easy. If you've got a Facebook page, you guys know that you can boost that post and get it in front of all kinds of people who don't follow your page normally. And you can target anybody in your neighborhood or your marketing area as potential buyers. So great way to get it out in front of even more people. Inside your portal, there's a do-it-yourself Facebook marketing kit. So for each one of these videos, we've created a corresponding page in that kit. And on that corresponding page, you just find the right one and steal the copy off that page and use it for your call to action copy on that post. Couldn't be easier. You don't even have to be a copywriting genius. All you got to do is be a plagiarizing genius. Steal the copy, put it on the post, and hit post. That's it. Makes your marketing for the weekend super easy. The videos are the very best thing you can share on social. They catch attention and they drive business back to you. Easy to get one of these portals. Just go to realtor.homefundit.com. Realtor.homefundit.com. You're just going to set up your password, put in some information about your company, pick a name for your site. You only need two things: your logo and, of course, your picture, and then a little about me statement. You just write that in there. You can put your disclaimer in there if you need to have a legal disclaimer on things. You just copy that in. And then be sure to select your loan officer from the dropdown. Very important, because that's what puts them on these campaign pages as well, and links these campaigns to them as well. If you're in one of the 40 states that allow it, you can do a dollar for dollar match up to any amount you want. Again, that's applied at closing, so you're not putting in any dollars until you actually close on a home, and you can cap it at whatever amount you want. I typically see a lot of 500s for most folks. Now, once you get some campaigns up and running, there's weekly email statements that go out to your buyer, and if you're a loan officer, to your real estate agent, and loan officers, you'll get one too. Updates you on everything that's going on the campaigns. These are branded for the customer one, so you're in front of your customer every single weekend, no matter how long that campaign is running. So we take care of all that nurture marketing as well. Plus, if anything happens on the campaign, there's a trigger email that goes out that says somebody just donated, somebody just shared, somebody just shopped, and all three parties are involved in that. Make sure you sign up at realtor.homefundit.com. And LOs, there is a Domo report where you can track all your campaigns as well. So in addition to the weekly email updates that you get, there is a Domo report that shows all of your campaigns, the URLs for the campaigns, how much has been raised, etc. And you can track them from Domo as well. Last little section here before we summarize is the corporate opportunity. A lot of folks come to us and say, hey, I know of a big organization that wants to help their people become homeowners. And they've heard about HomeFundIt and they think that's pretty cool. What we've got is a corporate affinity portal where a company or an organization, it doesn't have to be a company, it could be a church, a union, a builder, whatever the organization is, they want to help people become homeowners. They can set up these and direct their people to the page where they can start a HomeFundIt campaign. This all links business back to the loan officer and real estate agent who sold it in. It does require that the organization put some skin in the game. A company match is required on these. So they have to want to put in an amount. There's no minimum. It could be any amount, but it has to be something. They have to show that they're involved in helping with that down payment. There's great marketing tools built into these portals for the HR group or whatever leadership is in those organizations to be able to share that with their people. And this really becomes part of the company's HR package. What you're looking at the top here is one of our biggest ones. It's a company called Hammer Enterprises. They have a thing called the Hero Fund. It's an employee assistance program. And basically they are helping their employees who work for Wendy's, Panera, and Noodles & Company. They're one of the biggest franchisers, 20,000 employees. I think they have 50 campaigns running right now. All employees who are hoping to become homeowners someday. And they're putting in up to $2,500 towards the down payment. We have some companies that are even more. Graceland University, it's actually where Caitlyn Jenner went to college. They use it to help their employees buy homes. Busboys and Poets, restaurant chain on the East Coast, they use it to help their employees. There's builders that are now starting to use these to hold on to people who come by. They're not ready to buy a home or the homes aren't ready to be bought. And they can hang on to folks there. As long as you're putting some skin in the game, you can get involved in these. So basically it's the consumer pitch. If they like it and they want to know how they can get involved, then we sit down and do a meeting with the leadership from that organization. So if you're interested in that, let me know. There's also a really cool intersection between the affinity idea that we were just talking about and the wedding opportunity that we talked about earlier. And that's at these wedding expos, you are surrounded by all kinds of folks who are service providers to the wedding world, right? Wedding photographers, wedding planners, bridal shop owners, wedding caterers, locations, things like that. all of them are competing for business in that same group of future homeowners that you are when you go to a wedding expo. So what we've got is the ability to do an affinity portal for all of those folks, right? They can set up a portal and use that to become more competitive. Why? Because they can match into that portal. Let's say the wedding planner matches $500 for anybody who uses them as a wedding planner. Plus they can give away our $2,000, right? That makes them a pretty competitive wedding planner. So they've got the ability to put some big dollars in front of their customers as well, give their customers a tool that can help them raise a bigger down payment faster instead of doing a traditional registry. That makes these wedding service providers very competitive. So not only when you're at a wedding expo, not only are you talking to the people who are, you know, getting married, but you're also walking around talking to all the people who are exhibiting at that expo as a potential business partner in reaching future home buyers. So great intersection between the affinity opportunity that we just talked about and the wedding opportunity. Okay, to summarize, you know, today when you're typically meeting a customer, they're in this current buyer phase, right? They've been saving and saving and getting ready, and they're going through life getting ready to buy a house, and they finally feel like they're ready and they become a current buyer, right? So they wade into the marketplace. With HomeFundIt, we deal a lot with prospective buyers. It doesn't mean you don't deal with current buyers, but you can deal with prospective buyers like no other people can, right? Nobody is way up the funnel like HomeFundIt is. You can start as early as while they're still in college, starting that first job. Even if they're not ready to start talking to family and friends about getting dollars in, they can shop with UpIt. The whole family can shop with UpIt. In all cases, they're going to get done sooner. Why? Because they're getting help from outside. They're getting dollars from outside, they're shopping, etc. They're going to be ready to buy a house sooner. So you're able to win buyers earlier. You're able to speed up the process. And what that's doing is it's preempting your competition. Your competition can no longer have that deal because you have the one tool in the marketplace who can help you truly engage with a buyer, help them get ready to buy a house sooner, right? And not let them slip away to a competitor because they're working with you. It all boils down to getting people on these campaign pages as soon as you can, in the moment. So to some degree, you have to retrain yourself to not just look for current buyers, but to look for prospective buyers and put them on these campaign pages. So it can help your buyer be ready sooner. It can help you lock up these long-range buyers. For your buyers, it is a game changer because you take the friction out of this clunky down payment gifting process that we have today, and you make that all online where anyone can give. Trust me, that opens up some new doors for your customer. They will figure out how to use that if they want to buy a house. And there's two ways people can help them: donations, shopping, or both. Again, the elevator pitch is key. Online down payment gifting from anyone. And again, that opens up huge possibilities for people when you move it online and let anyone help. So for you guys, 4 steps to kind of making this thing work. Agents, make sure you're setting up a realtor portal. Loan officers, make sure your agents have this URL, realtor.homefundit.com. That RE at the end is a mistake. Get rid of that. Realtor.homefundit.com. And super easy to set up. It'll take just a couple seconds. Every first-time buyer discussion, work this into online down payment gifting from anyone and explain what that means, right? You might have to show them, hey, look, it wasn't online before. Anyone couldn't give before. It's changed. And when you give them that tool, that power, they'll use it, right? The key is to start early enough to where they can start working it in comfortably to those conversations that they have through life, right? If you start early enough, they will find people along the way, and it takes a little time for them to kind of work that in. Don't jam your buyer at the end with the idea of HomeFundIt. Retrain yourself to start early and get those people going at least on HomeFundIt as soon as possible. And identify those programs, those prospective buyers sooner, right? You have to retrain yourself to look at those future buyers early enough to get them started on these HomeFundIt campaigns. Again, because time is your friend, right? More time, more donors, more referrals down the line. And train yourself to look for that next generation of home buyers. They are out there by definition, right? There's a steady stream of them. And the key to getting into that next generation of home buyers is the folks that you know who have kids in that 18 to 24 range. They are the gatekeepers to that next generation. That's how you find them. So start having those conversations. It's a new way of doing it. We're no longer waiting for business to like rain into our hands like it used to. And so you have to do a little shouting about it, right? You have to post those testimonial videos, do links to your portal, put them all over the place in your signature block, etc. Right? So those are the little things that can make a big, big difference down the road. But again, the big shift is shifting from the current buyer mentality to the prospective buyer mentality. And you've got this tool that's exciting that can help you do that. So I hope you found that interesting. That's HomeFundIt, the platform itself, the realtor portal, the corporate affinity opportunity. I've got lots of space here for questions and time, so throw them in there and I'll do my best to get questions answered. So number one question, can the funds go towards buy downs? Yes. Gift funds can be used literally for anything. It's their money. Generally, it ends up going towards the down payment, but if there's an overage or you want there to be an overage, it can be used to buy down the rate towards closing costs. And we see that a lot these days with rates being where they are. The one thing that can't be done is the $2,000 closing cost lender credit. It has to be applied to closing costs because we cannot help with the down payment because we're the lender. Realtors similarly can't help with the down payment because they're an interested party, just like always. While I'm waiting for other questions, I'm sure you guys have some more questions. Try to be here every Friday, and I try to do this thing pretty regularly. So if I'm in town and available, I will be here almost every Friday. So make sure you refer people to the training here. I do dedicated trainings for branches and real estate offices all the time. So please engage me in any opportunities that you have like that, because it's a great way to get a whole branch excited about the program. I've got shorter versions of the training for real estate agent offices and so forth. Another question. So the realtor sets up their portal and they are the ones that sends the link to the client to set up their HomeFundIt account. Yeah. That's really the best way to start somebody. When you set up your portal, if you go into your portal, you'll see the link and a button also that takes you to your consumer-facing side of the portal. That's the side that your customers go into. Your back end of the portal is how you control the look and feel of your portal. The front side of it is the front door for your customers. You share the front door link with your customers, and that's where they start a HomeFundIt campaign. If they start a HomeFundIt campaign from the realtor portal, it's going to automatically link the loan officer because they've been linked to the realtor portal. So you both come in being aware of the campaign, getting weekly updates and things like that. That's why I say it's the best place to start somebody on a campaign. Loan officers, if you do not have a realtor on a deal yet, and it's just the best place to start them is on your My Site. If you send your customer to the HomeFundIt page on your My Site, there is a button to start a HomeFundIt right in the middle of that page. And that will start a HomeFundIt campaign with just the loan officer branded. And then we can add the realtor later, or the customer can add the realtor later. So second best way is LO only from the My Site. The worst way to start somebody, if you're a loan officer or a real estate agent, is to send them to HomeFundIt.com. Don't send them there. And the reason is, if you do send them there, neither the loan officer nor the real estate agent will be branded to the campaign. We won't know who it belongs to. And it'll come in as a call center jump ball, and we'll have to unwind that. We always do, but it gets a little confusing. So please don't send them to HomeFundIt.com if you're a loan officer or real estate agent, because then we have to find lost puppies. And then that's probably the best way is to do the realtor portal first, loan officer My Site second. Okay, any other questions? I haven't got the number one question that I typically get, so I'm going to ask the number one question is, what happens if they don't want to buy a house? If all of a sudden they start collecting funds and they change their mind for some reason? And that's the number one question we typically get. So that hardly ever happens though. In reality, it's a great question, but we almost never see it. And the reason is, by the time people start actually asking family and friends for donations and everything, they're pretty committed to the process of buying a house. They're committed to us as the lender. They're committed to HomeFundIt as the process. And by the way, people are much more likely to give to HomeFundIt on the platform than to hand them a check, right? It's much easier to say, hey, just come to my campaign and help with my down payment versus I need money, give me a cashier's check. So you get more money if you're collecting down payment gifts. That's why HomeFundIt is super effective. But people rarely exit on their own because they're pretty committed by the time they first start raising funds. That being said, it is their money, and if they want to, they can ACH the funds to themselves and run away. But we just don't see it very often because the level of commitment by that time is pretty high. So it's a very good retention feature, really, and it really helps you hold on to customers. Once they get committed to the process, they're going for it. Even if they get turned down for the loan or the offer gets rejected, we see that. But usually people dust themselves off and they keep going, and the campaign stays open, and they ultimately will close once they've raised funds. Occasionally there is what we call an involuntary exit, and that's divorce, disaster, healthcare, job issues, things like that. We do see some people cancel for those reasons, and in most of those cases, they will actually contact us and say, hey, I don't want to ACH the money to myself. I want you to return the funds to the people who gave it, and we can ungift the money and reverse those gifts back to the donors if needed. We do see those occasionally. It's not very common, but that's a typical exit point for some people, sadly. Okay, any other questions? Happy to keep going here if you guys have any questions. Again, if you're interested in kind of getting rolling, what I have, and since you guys have stuck around, I've got a HomeFundIt starter kit. I'm going to put a link for that right now in chat, and you can grab this. What it is let me do this right here. I'm going to paste it in and hit enter. If you look in chat, there is a link, and it goes to our Cloudinary drive. And you can download this as a zip file, unpack it. Inside there is the FAQ document, the infamous cheat sheet, which has links and a summary of everything. It's a great place to start with HomeFundIt. There are quick start guides for loan officers and real estate agents. There's a couple sample flyers. You want to get customized flyers on Surefire. Loan officers, make sure you go looking for those. There is an FAQ document in there, and really just a great starter kit. So grab that, unpack it. If you have trouble with that link, let me know. Sometimes people say they have trouble getting that link off the chat and making it work. If you have trouble, I can send it direct from email. And my email is here at the bottom of this screen. Okay. Hope you guys have been able to grab that. If you have any other questions, fire them in, because I'm going to close her down here in a couple seconds. All right. I don't see any. So again, reach out if you guys have questions. We're here to help. Go out and make it a great long weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. And we will see you out there on the HomeFundIt trail in the days and weeks ahead. Take care, everybody. Bye now.